Let's talk about Marvel's powerhouse team, the Avengers. Minor spoilers for the Marvel Cinematic Universe lie ahead. The tagline Earth's Mightiest Heroes was used in the title of the 2010 animated series and in a line of dialogue spoken by Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. However, it first appeared on the cover of Avengers #1 way back in September of 1963 as Earth's Mightiest Heroes with a dash. In fact, the Avengers has been in print for more than 50 years. Marvel is nearing issue 700 with the Avengers, although that number could be significantly higher if Marvel counted every title containing the word Avengers. Marvel has a long history of weird issue numbers. For example, in 1968, The Incredible Hulk took over the issue numbering from Tales to Astonish, and Captain America took over the issue numbering from Tales of Suspense, both of which began in 1979. So it goes with the Avengers as well. Sometimes it uses the classic numbering system, sometimes issues get reset to number 1 and run with new numbers for a while, sometimes both numbers will appear on the books for a bit, and as previously mentioned, some Avengers comics count toward the legacy total, while others do not. Frankly, it's a hot mess. In 5 decades, the Avengers team roster has at one time or another included more than 100 members, with some counts as high as 116. If we include teams besides the main Avengers group like the West Coast Avengers, the Young Avengers, Avengers Third Grade, a huge list of honorary Avengers, and a ton of others, then every single hero who's ever had any association to the Avengers team brings us up to more than 160 superpowered individuals. In the 2012 Marvel Cinematic Universe blockbuster The Avengers, Agent Coulson's vintage Captain America cards contained a nod to the iconic 1941 comic book cover that saw Captain America punch Hitler right in his stupid little tiny mustache. Joss Whedon has stated that the movie is heavily influenced by the 1960s Avengers comics. He was quoted as saying, "In those comics, these people shouldn't be in the same room, let alone on the same team, and that is the definition of family." So I just want to take a moment in the middle of the video here to remind you that if you're enjoying the content, then please click the thumbs up button. It really does help the channel grow. Quickly getting back to the matter at hand, Marvel did not bother to trademark the name The Avengers until 1970. The Avengers was also the name of a 1960s spy series, and this led to the movie being retitled in some markets, which is why the film was called Marvel's Avengers Assemble in the UK. In Japan, the movie's tagline translates to roughly, "Hey Japan, this is a movie." This was intended to be a humorous jab at Japanese culture, but some were quite offended by the tagline. They felt that it was in poor taste, with one columnist equating the tagline with the statement, "Hey native people, this is culture." While the Hulk was a founding member of the Avengers, he left in issue number 2 and fought against the Avengers in issue number 3. Of course, this would not be the last time the Hulk would find himself in the ranks of the Avengers. Hulk wasn't the only founding member to leave the team early on. In fact, only 16 issues in, nearly the entire team roster was changed. That roster included Iron Man, Giant Man, Wasp, and Thor, who were replaced by reformed supervillains Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver. Captain America stayed on to run the new team. In the MCU, Cap was labeled as the first Avenger, right there in the title. But within the pages of the original comics, he was late to the party, joining the team in issue number 4 when they found his frozen body while chasing down Namor the Submariner. Namor had teamed with Hulk to fight the Avengers, but when he suddenly reverted to Bruce Banner, puny Banner ran away, leaving the Submariner to fend for himself. When working on the first Avengers movie, Joss Whedon wanted to include Ant-Man and the Wasp, both founding members of the team in the original comics. However, the movie already had too many characters. An earlier draft of the script did feature the Wasp, but once Johansson was confirmed as Black Widow, Wasp was written out. By the time the Avengers Age of Ultron came around, Ant-Man and the Wasp were already being used in the Ant-Man solo film, which was in development at the time. Whedon was quoted as saying, "Of all the heat I've ever taken, not having Hank Pym was one of the bigger things." But the fact of the matter was, Edgar had him first by virtue of what Edgar was doing, There was no way for me to use him in this. Avengers Age of Ultron was released in May of 2015, with Ant-Man coming just 2 months later in July. The Avengers was also one of the earliest comics to address the issues of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. In Avengers number 32, the team battled the Sons of the Serpent, a thinly veiled stand-in for the Ku Klux Klan. According to Marvel Comics' The Untold Story, between 1957 and 1968, DC Comics was Marvel's distributor. Before the industry's near collapse in 1957, Marvel put out an astonishing 40 to 50 comic titles per month. After the collapse, Marvel had little choice but to use DC as their distributor. At first, DC limited Marvel to just 8 books per month, but by 1964 they were up to 16, still a far cry from what Stan Lee and his team had put out prior to the industry crash. When Marvel released Avengers and X-Men, the company had to cancel 2 other comics because of this limit. The books that got the axe were titled Love Romances and Gunsmoke Western. Had they been more popular, Avengers and X-Men might not have ever seen the light of day. In the MCU, Spider-Man was invited to join the Avengers and turned the offer down to remain a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Astonishingly, in the comics, Spidey didn't join the team until Brian Michael Bendis added him with the launch of the New Avengers in 2004. There are several examples of Spidey almost joining different Avengers teams, but it took 4 decades before Peter Parker ever made it official. Many people are surprised to find out that Nick Fury, within the main Marvel Comics continuity known as Earth-616, is a Caucasian World War II veteran. When designing the Ultimate Universe known as Earth-1610, artist Brian Hitch modeled the ultimate version of Nick Fury after actor Samuel L. Jackson. This was in the year 2000, well before the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Jackson's casting as Nick Fury in that universe. The MCU is Earth-199999, in case you were curious. But it gets even more complicated. After the movies were successful, the continuity of the main Marvel Universe was retroactively changed, something nerds like myself call a retcon. The short version is that they gave Fury a son, Nick Fury Jr., who just happened to be a black dude who was also a dead ringer for Samuel L. Jackson. Fury Jr. took over for his father, and now Marvel Comics has a Nick Fury to match the MCU and Ultimate Universe. So this video is sort of a pilot episode for a new video series. Jump down to the comments section below and let me know. Do you like the new video? What subjects should we cover in this series? Leave your suggestions in the comments section below. Don't forget to ring the bell so that you get notified when we release a new video, and share this video on the Twitters and Facebooks and Reddits. Until next time guys, be kind to each other. I'm Jay Parks.